What's really good, guys? This is Second and Short coming on back. I am Tyler Louder. He is the Aaron Ben, and we're going to be starting off our brand new series. And this is like our player breakdown series where essentially we're going to talk about your team's biggest free agent addition, in our opinion. There are times when we have asked fans their opinions, but sometimes, teams, they just kind of stand out. Aaron, first of all, though, before we dive on in, how you doing today?
I'm doing excellent. I'm excited to be back recording, and I'm excited for this series. People have been talking about it. People are kind of getting their expectations up. Read a couple previews on ESPN, NFL. So I think people are really excited for what we're about to give them here.
Yeah, and I mean, even Eli Manning joined social media the same day as us because he heard that we were coming out with some stuff. So
yeah, I mean, that's the effect that we have on the community.
So let's get into this breakdown, and we're gonna be kind of be repeating ourselves and going in the same order that we went through with everything else we've been talking about. And we're gonna start with an AFC team, and we're gonna lead it off with potentially one of the biggest free agent additions in the AFC, and that is going to be Sir Philip Rivers getting signed to the Indianapolis Colts. He spent years with the Los Angeles Chargers and San Diego, getting drafted as the fourth pick back in 2004, having that immediate trade from the Giants to the Chargers. The very first time he became a starter, he led this team to 14-2. That was behind LT's, historic year.
Didn't he have like 60 touchdowns in 1 year?
It's something like that. Like LT just was scoring every time he touched the ball.
Loved watching that guy.
But I mean, from that year that he led this team to a 14-2 record, Philip Rivers he started every game from them. Career passer rating of 95. He's the franchise leader in everything that matters. Yards, touchdowns, children, as you say.
Got a lot of children.
Like he might make kids better than some people throw a football. That's just something I've heard. I don't know if that's true.
He's got good accuracy, so.
Sorry, some paranormal activity in my house. I just something clicked that never clicks.
I know how that goes.
Somebody's not a Rivers fan in this house. But other accolades are, he's been selected to 8 different Pro Bowls. In 2013, he was a comeback player of the year. He led the NFL in passing yards in 2010, and he had the best passer rating in 2008. Now, Philip Rivers, to a lot of people, especially in fantasy community and dynasty community, they've kind of downgraded this move, saying it's just he's old. And Eli just retired from the same draft class, and Big Ben's beat up. These guys are all on their last legs. Yet he's still several years younger than Drew Brees and Tom Brady.
Well, I mean, Tom Brady drank unicorn blood, so I don't think you can really compare him to Tom Brady.
For anybody that watched the match, there was a charity event that happened on Sunday before Memorial Day. It was Tom Brady and Phil Mickelson versus Peyton Manning and Tiger Woods.
Peyton was just shitting on Tom Brady the whole time.
And what was great about that though is just the fact that people are kind of making fun of Tom Brady, this place I work at. Yet he looked like he could be a golfer. He really did. And he looks in great shape. And now that was kind of off the topic, but him being in great shape and him still being able to play at this high level, why do people think that Philip Rivers can't do the same thing? I mean, obviously 2019, you can talk about that, but I don't understand it.
Well, yeah, and I think a lot of people, as quick as people are to blame Philip Rivers for having all those interceptions and everything, I think just as many people will come in and say, "Hey, look at their offensive line! That he had zero protection. Look at that offensive line," and I'm going to talk about this in just a bit, but look at the Colts offensive line, and it's two completely different worlds.
And yeah, I mean, his 2019 season was a major downplay. He was almost like a 1-for-1 touchdown to interception ratio at 23-20, and it just stuff just didn't work. this Chargers team for the past couple of years has been looked at as a potential AFC Championship contender just due to the fact that Phillip Rivers is a gunslinger. They have all these options. They have a united run game. And even that was kind of falling apart. I mean, the running backs last year, as much as everybody loves Austin Eckler, again, fantasy football fans and dynasty fans, that's why you love him. But realistically, they weren't getting the job done. I mean, they ranked in the bottom tier of rushing yards per attempt, and it didn't make sense with the options that they had. And obviously, he was trying to create more opportunities for his team by slinging it, and he was under a lot of pressure. Now,
Rivers and the Chargers kind of had this mutual agreement to part ways after the season. They like broke up, but still wanted to be friends. And this offseason, he's reunited with Mark Sirianni, who's the offensive coordinator in Indianapolis, and Frank Reich, the Colts head coach, both of whom served at some point as offensive coordinator when he was in San Diego, or Los Angeles. So he's got some history with them, kind of some familiarity, which definitely helps facilitate this whole movement. In terms of contract, I remember there kind of being a bit of debate, or maybe it was just me debating in my head if it was going to be a 1 or a 2 year deal. I don't think anyone was expecting like a huge blockbuster, like 4 year, 3 year Kirk Cousins deal. In the end, he signed for 1 year, $25 million. It's a lot of money, but it's not top tier quarterback money. That's like a guy sitting at home wishing he could make $25 million in 1 year money. He does, from what he's said and talked to reporters and everything, he has said that he believes he has a lot of football left. I personally don't think he's going to retire after this season. After, like, towards the end of this whole episode, we're gonna go ahead and talk about what we think is going to happen going forward.
all right. So when we look at this contract, it's a 1 year deal, $25 million. It's all guaranteed. That puts him at 15th in the NFL. Now, I think for me personally, I like this contract. I think that the Colts got a great deal here by improving their quarterback play from Jacoby Brissett, who we can touch on in a little bit on his inconsistencies and his. And I'm a big Brissett fan. I like him. I really do like him as a quarterback. I just like he's just the way he like feels out the offense, the way he plays, but he's not a natural born leader. He kind of just seems like a guy that is the same as everybody else. But Phillip Rivers comes on in, and that's what he brings to this team that they need. They need a leader. And I feel like they were about to get there with Andrew Luck. Luck was like almost there, if not just getting there, about this whole leadership, being able to take over this team. But Phillip Rivers has so much confidence, and he brings a very politeness to him in the way, even when he's competing, because this guy like never cusses. That's like my favorite thing about Phillip Rivers, actually.
His mic'd up is hilarious.
His mic'd up is great, but I'm going to give you a couple quarterbacks that are making more per year than him. And this is where we're going to see if this value is good, okay? So making more than him are Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Matt Ryan, okay, Derek Carr, Matthew Stafford, Ryan Tannehill, Jimmy Garoppolo. Like, I'm not dissing any of those quarterbacks, but based on those names I gave you, do you think this contract is fair?
I think it's fair. Yeah, I mean, he has been a top 10 quarterback in the league for almost 2 centuries, for almost 2 decades. Sorry.
He's the oldest guy alive.
But he did decline a bit last year. So I mean, you have to take both things into consideration. You got to ask yourself: was that decline because of the offensive line, or is that just because he's declined? He's old and he can't play at that level anymore. So I think this 1 year deal gives him a chance to prove himself, and then maybe after that he signs for a bit more if he plays well, or maybe another team will want to give him like a 2 year deal. We'll have to see.
Let's move on to the offensive fit. Now, this is where we are not going to be these type of football nerds and be able to give you every single X and O that you might be wanting, but we're just going to give you our personal opinions or, some quick Wikipedia research that I do, because that's where I get all my trusted sources, on things that we see here, and let's just lead off there. Obviously, the offensive line was a big draw for Philip Rivers coming here. Let's talk about that offensive line. Let's talk about his offensive coordinator, and let's move into this fit.
The offensive coordinator we said is Sirianni. He said when talking to reporters, he was saying that the offensive line was a big factor in Rivers coming to Indianapolis. The offensive line, it went from it was trash whenever Andrew Luck was there, and then suddenly a couple of years ago, it suddenly was a really good line. They've got Anthony Costanzo at left tackle, who's above average left tackle. Quentin Nelson is the best guard in the league. I don't think anyone's arguing with that.
That's fair. No arguments here.
All right, thank you. Ryan Kelly, Braden Smith, and Mark Lewinsky, those are all solid. They're not all pro players. They're solid, average to above average players. All in all, it's a very good offensive line. Rivers coming in, this definitely ends Brissett's time as a starter. And I'm going to kind of give you a few reasons here why they're moving on from Brissett. One thing is that Frank Reich, one thing that he really values highly in a quarterback is accuracy. And Brissett is not super accurate. He had just 60.9% completion rate last year. He's not been known as a super highly accurate guy over his career. Rivers, on the other hand, has always been accurate, even though how would you describe his throwing motion, Tyler? It's like he's shot putting it.
I don't know. It's almost to me, the football is getting hotter by the second, and at the last second, it's too hot for him, and he just whips it out.
Hot potatoes it. So.
Yeah, but it's not. But his hand is a microwave, is what it is. It's just nah, I'm cool. Get it out of here. That's what I see.
So he over the last 3 years has had completion percentages of 66, 68, and then 64.7%. So that's pretty good. But if we're talking about Frank Reich's favorite quarterback stat, favorite kind of way to analyze quarterbacks, that's yards per attempt. I know a lot of people love that stat as well. Indianapolis, they had a 6.6 yards per attempt in 2019, which is garbage. I think it's
it was in the bottom.
It's pretty much at the bottom. I don't know if it's last place, but it's not good. Rivers has throughout his career consistently been in the top 10 in YPA. Yeah, for his career he's at 7.8. He had 7.8 in 2019 and 8.5 in 2018. So that's if you can improve it at your head coach's favorite quarterback stat, what's not to like?
100%. And now the thing that the big difference here between Brissett and Rivers is that Brissett is more sure-handed. He doesn't have as many turnovers. He does not as he just doesn't, but he also doesn't take those big shots downfield. Where Philip Rivers literally will try and put the entire team on his back and just go out and win a game.
Put the team on his back, though.
Yeah, but he'll do it on the first play of the game and be I got to win the whole game right here, and he'll just go for it. But Brissett doesn't do that. So we're gonna be trading away. They're gonna get a more accurate quarterback. They're gonna have better, like we said. The YPA is gonna increase there, but there's more risk taking there. It's kind of like having a Brett Favre. I'm not saying Philip Rivers is Brett Favre, but I'm just saying his ability or inability to play safe is kind of his play style and what kind of sets him apart from other quarterbacks. Now, not being able to make a big play is kind of not something you say with Philip Rivers, because Philip Rivers constantly has had different types of targets throughout his career, and he will go downfield all day. Sometimes we said it, ends up in turnovers and interceptions and stuff like that. Other times it helps propel this team forward. Last year the Chargers were 10th in plays over 20 yards, which is crazy. Now that includes run plays, but realistically, the majority of those are from Phillip Rivers. Where did Indy rank last year?
Yeah, Indy was 30th last year. That just kind of shows what Jacoby Brissett gives you.
So here's just my thing. Like, the Colts were on the cusp of making the playoffs. And if you improve all these other factors here, that, I mean, I know it doesn't seem like much, but an extra 1.2 yards per attempt is a lot better. Like, it just is. It just, like, if you're getting about 8 yards every attempt, you only got to punch it in 1 yard on each run the next two plays. Like, and now you're on first down. That's just progress. If you're able to make bigger plays, you can preserve the offensive line's health. They're going to block better for a longer part of the game because you're not on the field as much.
Yeah, and I mean, if we're talking about like drawbacks, like disadvantages to the signing, we said it already. Rivers can be turnover prone. I don't think that. I think that's something that will improve this year because he has that better O line, and he won't need to like play hero ball or anything. And that just comes from his willingness to take those risks and make those explosive plays. He's not as mobile as Jacoby Brissett, but that's not really been a huge factor in his career until now. He has a very quick snap to release time. And I mean, there's the obvious. He's getting up there in age. So we got to see. This 1 year deal is good for the Colts. It lets them see how he's playing at this age and in on this new team.
But we're not even talking about yet his weapons that he has. And that's kind of what everybody's been saying, that maybe that's why Phillip Rivers has been so successful, because he's always had guys like Antonio Gates, LaDainian Tomlinson, Melvin Gordon, Austin Eckler, Keenan Allen. Hunter Henry is a great young upstart tight end. But coming over to Indy, let's just stay in the backfield. He's going to have Jonathan Taylor, who can kind of do it all. Marlon Mack, who people have been like up and down on, but he just came off 1,000-yard rushing season. Nyheim Hines is a great receiving back, and Jordan Wilkins is a nice power back to pound it in on short yardage situations. I mean, he's got 4 running backs there. Really, it's going to be 2, maybe 3 that are going to get the touches, but there's just depth there. And then we switch over to the receivers. I mean, he's got speed in Hilton. He's got speed in Paris Campbell, speed in Zach Pascal. Michael Pittman is one of those guys that I think is going to be a great little possession-based receiver and do it all. He has a great chance to be a star in this league. And then we talk about tight ends. I mean, Jack Doyle is a very reliable tight end. Very reliable. And he's going to be able to produce at a decent level with Phillip Rivers. And then we move on and they get Trey Burton somehow after injuries, prevented him from showing up for Chicago. And let's not discredit, their third string tight end, who I think needs to get more reps, and that is Mo Alley Cox, that former basketball player in college.
Are there tight ends who weren't former basketball players?
Yeah, I know. Exactly, right? And I feel like if you watch any Chargers game in the past, 15 years, you'd always hear, wow, Antonio Gates played basketball in college, But that's the same connection here. And if it's a lousy connection that I'm making here, comparison, whatever, I don't care. It's a guy that can go up and get it. And the fact that Phillip Rivers is so accurate and he's not going to have to go up and get it as much, where it's going to be as risky, he might be able to show up some more. I mean, add in that with this great offensive line and this defense that keeps getting better. Somehow they keep adding a star player here and there. This is, for me, the prediction wise, is I think that Phillip Rivers is going to have a career resurgence late in his career. He's going to get back up closer to that top 12, top 10 spot in yards and touchdowns. He's going to turn those turnovers down. And I think this team is going to improve by at least 2 to 3 wins just with him. Now, what is your prediction?
I kind of agree with your thinking. I think that offensive line, I'm not sure, the Colts have a lot more weapons than the Chargers. The Chargers have a pretty good offense, in terms of skill positions last year. But so my big factor here is the offensive line, and I think that's going to greatly help him reduce turnovers. He'll feel more comfortable in the pocket, feel less pressure to just force passes. I think they should be in contention for the AFC South, or at least a wild card berth. I, as a Titans fan, obviously hope not, but That's kind of how I see it. So I agree with you. I think him alone coming to Indianapolis improves their record by 2 or 3 wins already.
And before we have those like keyboard warriors that like for some reason only ever have cap lock on, like we get it. This is a team sport. And it's not one guy comes and makes a team. Like you guys are undermining this addition on the defense. No, I get it. Totally get it. But I'm just saying Phillip Rivers is going to be able to improve this team tremendously just by being a better quarterback than Brissett. The last thing I want to talk about, let's kind of make about, this is kind of predictions, but it's not. Let's talk about his present impact and let's talk about the future impact. And what I mean by this, before you give me your take, is like we obviously saw what happened with the draft. They took Jacob Eason. We all heard them saying they were going to take a quarterback. Now, is Jacob Eason just a great value pick late in the NFL draft on day 3? Or is this a guy that they think is going to be groomed and, tailored to take over? Is Rivers going to stay longer than 1 year? Like, kind of give me that impact you think this signing makes on the Colts and the decisions they make at the quarterback position going forward.
We just now talked about like his short-term impact more. Like he's definitely going to come in and be that starter. Of course, Brissett's not going to be an answer. Swag Kelly, I mean, he's not. Let's be real, he's not going to be on the team. So yeah, he in terms of short term, he comes in, gives them a couple more wins, puts them in contention for the AFC South. What's more interesting here is the future impact, and we're talking about a future impact because a lot of people believe that Rivers has only 1 or 2 years left. So like people were saying, they need to draft a quarterback. The GM Chris Ballard came out and said they didn't want to force a pick at quarterback in the draft. Like if the right guy wasn't there, they were gonna like reach on someone who maybe shouldn't be drafted so high. But the timing was perfect for them in the 4th round. Eason was available. Jacob Eason, he's a big, strong quarterback, got a rocket arm from University of Washington. He's actually a Colts fan growing up, so it's like a dream come true for him as well. He's got like all of the physical tools that a quarterback needs to succeed. It's kind of like what they were talking about Josh Allen a couple of years ago, where he looks great in shorts. He has a number of things that need improving, which because of those things, he can't be a starter right away in the NFL, which is okay. He needs to pick up the pace in terms of like his consistency and like his football IQ, diagnosing the play. Sometimes he gets tunnel vision, locks onto like his one receiver, and like either he'll force the ball or the defense will read his eyes where he's throwing the ball. So you got to go through his progressions a bit better. He has some accuracy concerns. He's not very consistently accurate. He has the arm to make some great throws, but it's just that consistency and accuracy that we're looking for to improve. And those are all things that can improve with coaching. I think in order for Eason to succeed, he needs to sit for a year or 2 behind a veteran quarterback and kind of learn and take it all in. And what do you know? Look at what they have here in Indy. They have a veteran quarterback with 1 or 2 years left in the league. And that's like the perfect situation for Eason. So if I'm a Colts fan, I'm stoked. Eason's going to come in. He's not even going to be the backup this year. Like, no pressure at all. He's going to come in and compete for quarterback 3 spot with Swag Kelly. And let's be real. He's going to get it. And he's going to be like the third string quarterback. Next year, Brissett's contract is up. Eason will move into that backup quarterback spot. What I think is that if the Colts like Eason's progression enough, then they won't even bother re-signing Rivers. They might just, after 1 year, they might just let Eason go in and take over. But what's more likely, I think, is that the Colts will sign Rivers to another 1 year deal. Maybe like if he's not playing well in the like 2020 or 2021 season, maybe they kind of take him out, put Eason in, and see what's up. That's kind of how I see this whole thing playing out going forward. So Rivers is, he's going to help you win now, but he's also setting you up for success in the future, even if he's not on the team.
I think that Phillip Rivers is going to be able to come on in, and the situation in my head that I see playing out that is best for Colts fans is Phillip Rivers comes in, he helps get your team to the playoffs. We can potentially see them make a good run just based on how deep they are at all these positions. But what he can really do here is that he's going to be able to work with these young rookies in Jonathan Taylor and Michael Pittman Jr., be able to develop them into better pros. And if he can do that going into year 2 or 3, when those guys are more established vets, Easton's going to have an easier time, because it's hard for me to sit here and say that like Marlon Mack is going to get signed to another contract in 2 years. It's hard for me to say that, T.Y. Hilton is going to be back at age 32 going on 33 here in 2 years, if this whole thing, I feel like he's kind of tied to Phillip Rivers' situation as well. And I think that this team is set up for great success. Just the fact that they went out and they got this big beastie running back that can just take the load off of anything. So if Rivers kind of having a bad game, boom, let's start running the ball more. You got dynamic options, take yourself in the pistol. Teams will have no idea which way you're going to go if you have Mack and Taylor back there. And I just think that this move for me personally is a great move. I'm not a Colts fan. I don't really care if the Colts are successful or not. But personally, I think they're going to be, because Phillip Rivers is so consistent in what he does, and that is leading teams. And he's led lesser teams. So there's no excuses here. And I'm going to agree with you. I think an AFC South title is within reach for this team. I think it's going to be them and Tennessee are going to be competing. I know people love the Texans. I know they love Deshaun Watson, but there's just too many uncertainties there for me. And for me, if Phillip Rivers can stay healthy, cut back those turnovers a little bit, even if he drops his turnovers to like 15 interceptions, I think that's a huge improvement. Because Phillip Rivers is good when he's just slinging the ball. I don't want him to stop doing that.
Yeah, I mean, he's a fun quarterback to watch. He's not afraid to chuck it. And he's not afraid to go out there and just play how he likes to play.
Huck it, chuck it, football. Well, that's going to do it for us. I mean, this was short and sweet, but you know what? This was a lot of fun, actually, because we just kind of get to talk about football. That's all we're doing. We're just talking football and things that we would literally say in a bar, sitting next to you guys. And that's kind of
We're
what
sitting on the
direction
fire
we
pit.
want. Oh, yeah, but with Smoke Jesus.
Yeah, smoke.
But this has been Second and Short's, free agent edition. This is like new faces and new places or whatever.
Movers and shakers.
Yeah, whatever cheesy thing you want to say. This is what the new players brought to this team, what impact they're going to have. And you heard it here. Phillip Rivers is going to lead this team to the playoffs. My name is Tyler Lauder. He is the Aaron Ben. Thank you guys for joining us here. If you guys want to see more content as we break down more NFL free agents throughout the NFL here on their new teams, click that subscribe button in the bottom right. And as we get more videos up, top right of this screen, if you're viewing this in a week or 2 weeks or 5 years from now, thank you. Go ahead and leave a comment, leave a like. Tell us why we were right, or tell us why we were wrong. Even better. Go ahead and check us out on Facebook at Second and Short. Like the group, be able to stay up to date there. Come and talk with all the other sports fans, and view our polls there and vote on those. And check us out on a new platform, Instagram.
We're on the Instagram now. Check us out. Come see our posts. We're hilarious.
We're not as old as people say we are. We can be on Instagram, so.
Get on down there.
Okay, that's bad. You guys have a good night.